If you rode in an American car in the 1970s, you remember things that no car built today has. Not luxury features, not fancy options. Basic things. Things that every single car in America had, from the cheapest Pinto to the biggest Cadillac. Things you touched, heard, smelled, and used every time you got in. All of them are gone. Some were removed because technology improved. Some were removed because the law changed. And some were removed for reasons that nobody has ever been able to explain. These are 20 of them. And I guarantee you, your hands are going to remember at least half of them before your brain does. Number 20. The crank window. Before power windows, you rolled the window down by turning a metal handle in a circle, around and around and around, until the glass disappeared into the door, and back around and around and around. To bring it up, if you were a child in the back seat and you wanted air, you earned it. Your arm did the work. The handle was chrome, and it was always cold in winter and always hot in summer, and it made a clicking sound with each revolution that was the soundtrack of every car ride. Today, children press a button and the window goes down silently, and they have no idea what the word roll means in the phrase, roll down the window. But you do. Your wrist remembers. Number 19. The bench seat in the front. 3 people could sit in the front of a car, not 2, 3. There was no center console, no armrest between the driver and passenger, just one long, flat, vinyl-covered seat that went from door to door. On date night, your girl sat in the middle, right next to you, close enough that your shoulders touched. On family trips, 3 kids fit in the front because there were no airbags and no car seat laws, and nobody thought anything of it. The bench seat made the car feel like a living room. Bucket seats made it feel like an airplane. We traded comfort and closeness for safety and separation. That is probably the right trade. But on a summer night in 1975, sitting next to someone on a bench seat with the windows cranked down and the radio playing, there was nothing in the world that needed to be safer. Number 18. The ashtray in every door. Not one ashtray, multiple. One in the dashboard for the driver. One in the back of the front seat for the rear passengers. One in each rear door armrest. A car in the 1970s had more ashtrays than cup holders. In fact, most cars in the 70s had 0 cup holders. Nobody thought you needed a place to put a drink, but a place to put your cigarette ash? Essential. The ashtrays were spring-loaded. You pushed them and they popped open with a click. And even in families where nobody smoked, the ashtrays were full. Of pennies, of gum wrappers, of little scraps of paper that meant something once and meant nothing now. Today, the space where the ashtray used to be holds a USB port. Progress, apparently. Number 17. The cigarette lighter. A metal cylinder built into the dashboard that you pushed in. Waited 10 seconds, and it popped back out glowing orange like a tiny branding iron. You pressed it against the tip of your cigarette, and it lit. That was its only purpose. Every car in America came with one, standard, whether you smoked or not. The socket it sat in is still there in most cars, but now it powers your phone charger. Your children have no idea that the round hole in the dashboard was originally designed to set things on fire, and the fact that it glowed orange and was hot enough to burn skin and was within reach of every child in the back seat is a fact that the 1970s never once considered a problem. Number 16. The 8-track player. Before cassettes, before CDs, before Bluetooth and streaming and AUX cables, there was the 8-track. A plastic cartridge the size of a paperback book that you shoved into a slot in the dashboard. It played continuously in a loop divided into 4 programs. The music faded out in the middle of a song, clicked loudly, and started a new program. That click happened in the middle of the best part of every song you loved. It was maddening and unavoidable, and you accepted it because the alternative was AM radio and whatever the DJ decided to play. The 8-track was obsolete by 1980. But between 1970 and 1978, every road trip in America had a soundtrack that was interrupted every 3 minutes by a loud mechanical click, and nobody complained because there was nothing better. Number 15. The vinyl seats. Seats covered in vinyl that burned your bare legs in summer and froze them in winter. There was no temperature at which vinyl was comfortable. In July, you opened the car door and a wall of heat hit you and you sat down on a surface that could fry an egg. The backs of your thighs stuck to the seat and made a sound when you stood up that every child found hilarious and every adult pretended not to hear. In January, the vinyl was so cold it felt wet. Fabric seats and leather replaced vinyl because they were better in every possible way. But vinyl never cracked, never tore, never stained, and lasted 30 years without showing age. Your comfort meant nothing to vinyl. It was there to survive, and it did. Number 14. The wing window. A small triangular window in the front corner of the door that pivoted open on a hinge. You flipped it out and a stream of fresh air shot directly at your face without opening the main window. It was the personal ventilation system of the pre-air conditioning car. You could angle it left or right, adjust the airflow, and drive at highway speed with a cool breeze on your face and your hair mostly intact. Air conditioning killed the wing window. Once every car had AC, there was no need for a tiny triangle of glass that pivoted. But AC costs gas. The wing window cost nothing, and the feeling of a directed breeze from a wing window at 60 miles an hour on a 2-lane highway with the radio on is something that manufactured cold air from a dashboard vent has never been able to replicate. Number 13. The hood ornament. A chrome figure mounted on the front of the hood that told you what car you were looking at from a block away. The Cadillac had a crest. The Pontiac had an arrowhead. The Mercedes had a star. The Rolls-Royce had the spirit of ecstasy. The hood ornament was not a logo. It was a declaration. It said, "This is what I drive, and I am proud of it, and you can see it coming." Hood ornaments were removed for pedestrian safety and aerodynamics. Cars became smoother and faster and safer and completely anonymous from a distance. Today, you cannot tell what car someone is driving until you are close enough to read the badge. In the 70s, you knew from 100 yards away, and that mattered because the car you drove said something about who you were, and the hood ornament said it first. Now, before we keep going, I want you to think about something. The car in the 1970s was not a computer on wheels. It was a room, a metal room on 4 tires with windows you cranked and seats you shared and a dashboard you could open things with and close things with and burn things with. You did not interact with a screen. You interacted with the car. Your hands touched everything. The crank, the lighter, the 8-track, the wing window, the ashtray. The dashboard was full of physical objects that moved and clicked and pushed and pulled. Today, the dashboard is a screen. One flat glass surface that controls everything and feels like nothing. The car got smarter, but your hands got lonelier. Number 12. The floor-mounted dimmer switch. A small button on the floor, to the left of the brake pedal, that you pressed with your foot to switch between high beams and low beams. You did not take your hands off the wheel. You did not look down. Your foot found it and pressed it like a reflex. It made a solid click when it engaged. By the 80s, the dimmer switch moved to the steering column, a small lever that you pulled toward you. It worked fine, but the floor switch was more satisfying in a way that is difficult to explain, but impossible to deny. Number 11. The chrome bumper. Real chrome, real steel. Bumpers that weighed 50 pounds and stuck out from the body of the car like a jaw. They were not part of the design. They were attached to the design. They caught the sun and blinded the car behind you. They rusted at the edges. They dented and bent, but they protected the car behind them. When you bumped a parking meter at 5 miles an hour, the bumper took it. Today's bumpers are painted plastic panels that crack if you look at them wrong and cost $1,000 to replace. The chrome bumper cost $50, could be straightened with a hammer, and looked better every year as it developed character. Cars used to show their age like faces. Now they hide it like secrets. Number 10. The column shifter. The gear shift mounted on the steering column instead of the floor. You reached up, grabbed the lever, and pulled it down or pushed it up to change gears. It was called 3 on the tree when it was a manual transmission. The column shifter kept the floor open, which made the bench seat possible, which made the front of the car feel like one continuous space. When the floor shifter replaced it, it split the front seat in half with a console, and the car went from a shared space to 2 separate spaces with an armrest wall between them. Number 9. The whip antenna. A thin metal rod, 3 feet long, mounted on the front fender that picked up AM and FM radio signals. It wobbled when you drove. It bent when you went through the car wash. Kids snapped them off other people's cars as a prank. And when your station started to fade on a long drive, you reached out the window and adjusted the antenna by hand, hoping to catch a few more miles of signal before the static won. Today, antennas are embedded in the windshield or hidden in shark fin pods on the roof. They work better, but they do not wobble. And there was something about that wobble, that thin metal rod bending in the wind, that made the car feel alive. Number 8. The full-size spare tire in the trunk. Not a donut, not a can of sealant and a prayer, a real tire, full size, mounted on a real rim, sitting in the trunk, ready to go. Because flat tires happened all the time, and the only solution was to pull over, jack up the car, and change it yourself. Your father knew how to change a tire. You knew how to change a tire because your father taught you on the side of a highway in the rain while trucks blew past at 60 miles an hour. That was the lesson. Not in a classroom, not in a video. On the shoulder of I-95 with a lug wrench and a vocabulary that your mother would not have approved of. Number 7. The faux wood paneling on the station wagon. The Ford Country Squire, the Chevy Caprice Estate, Chrysler Town and Country. These were the family cars of the 70s, and they all had one thing in common. Fake wood on the sides, vinyl stickers made to look like walnut or mahogany, applied to the exterior of the car to make a station wagon look like it belonged at a country club instead of in a grocery store parking lot. Nobody was fooled. Everybody knew it was fake, and everybody wanted it anyway because the wood-paneled wagon was the symbol of the American family in the 1970s. When you saw one coming, you knew there were at least 3 kids in the back, a dog in the cargo area, and a mother at the wheel who had already told everyone to sit down twice. Number 6. The keys that started the car and also opened the house. 1 keychain, 2 keys. 1 for the car, 1 for the house. That was it. Your father carried them in his front pocket, and they jingled when he walked. The car key was flat with a square head, and it went into the ignition on the steering column, and you turned it, and the engine started. There was no fob, no button, no proximity sensor, no push to start. You put a piece of metal into a slot, and you turned it. And the car either started or it did not. And if it did not, you turned it again, and you pumped the gas, and you talked to the car like it was a person who needed encouragement. Today, cars start when you press a button while the key sits in your pocket. It is faster, easier, and completely devoid of the relationship that existed between a driver and an engine that needed to be convinced. Number 5. The paper road map in the glove box. Before GPS, before Google Maps, before your phone told you where to turn, there was a map, a paper map, folded into a rectangle, stuffed into the glove compartment with the registration and the insurance card, and a pen that did not work. When you got lost, you pulled over, unfolded the map on the hood, and tried to figure out where you were. The map was impossible to refold correctly. Nobody in the history of driving has ever refolded a road map back to its original shape. Your father tried every time and failed every time and stuffed it back into the glove box in a crumpled ball and said he knew where he was going anyway. He did not, but the map was there, and the map was the reason families saw things they were not planning to see, stopped at places they were not planning to stop, and had the best days of their trips because they were lost and did not know it yet. Number 4. The gas cap on the outside with no lock. You pulled into a gas station. The attendant walked to the back of the car, unscrewed the gas cap by hand, and filled the tank. There was no lock. There was no release lever inside the car. There was no door hiding the cap. It was just there, on the outside of the car, accessible to anyone. The idea that someone might steal your gas or tamper with your fuel was so unlikely in the 70s that nobody bothered to protect it. That trust is gone. Every gas cap today is locked behind a door that requires a button or a lever or a latch. We did not add the lock because the cap needed one. We added it because the world changed, and the gas cap is proof. Number 3. The lap belt with no shoulder strap. The back seat of every car in the 70s had a single belt that went across your lap and clicked into a buckle. No shoulder strap, no harness, no headrest. You sat on the bench seat with a strip of fabric across your hips, and that was your entire safety system. In the front seat, some cars had a 3-point belt. Most did not until the late 70s, and for years, nobody wore any of them. Seatbelt laws did not exist in most states until the mid-80s. Your father drove with no belt. Your mother sat in the passenger seat with no belt. And you lay across the back seat like it was a couch, sometimes sleeping with your head in your brother's lap and your feet against the window. At 70 miles an hour, with no protection whatsoever, we survived. Many people did not, but nobody can say we were not free. Number 2, the car without a computer. No check engine light, no diagnostic codes, no sensors, no modules, no software updates. The engine was mechanical. You could open the hood and see every part. You could identify the carburetor, the distributor, the spark plugs, the belts, the hoses, and the battery. If something broke, you could fix it yourself or take it to a mechanic who fixed it with a wrench and a screwdriver and experience. A tune-up cost $20. A water pump cost $30. Your father changed his own oil in the driveway on a Saturday morning. He knew the engine because the engine was knowable. Today, opening the hood of a car reveals a plastic cover over a mystery. Nothing is visible. Nothing is repairable without a computer. The car runs better. It lasts longer. It breaks less often. But when it does break, nobody in the family can fix it. And the relationship between a man and his engine, the one where he understood it and it depended on him, that relationship is over. Number 1, the back of the station wagon. Not the back seat, the back. The cargo area behind the rear seat where the luggage went and the dogs sat and the children rode facing backwards, looking out the rear window at the cars behind them. There were no seats. There were no belts. There was no safety of any kind. Carpeted space the size of a twin bed, and it was the best seat in the car. You lay on your stomach and watched the road disappear beneath you through the rear window. You waved at the drivers behind you. You made faces at them. You played games with your siblings that required nothing except proximity and imagination, and a space that belonged to nobody and therefore belonged to you. Every family trip started the same way. The kids fought for the back. Whoever got it rode for hours in a metal box, going 70 miles an hour with nothing between them and the road except a sheet of glass and the belief that nothing bad would ever happen. It was irresponsible. It was dangerous. And it was the single greatest place a child could be in the 1970s. No car built today has anything like it, and no child born today will ever know what it felt like to lie in the back of a station wagon on a summer night, watching the headlights of the cars behind you blur into stars, while your parents drove and the radio played and the road went on forever. 20 things, all of them ordinary, all of them gone, and every single one of them made the car feel like more than a machine. It felt like a place where things happened, where families argued and sang and slept and got lost and found their way. The car got better. Nobody argues that. But the car also got quieter, smoother, smarter, and lonelier. And somewhere between the crank window and the touch screen, the bench seat and the bucket seat, the road map and the GPS, we stopped touching the car and the car stopped feeling like ours. If you rode in a car like this, drop one thing in the comments, just one. The first thing your hands remember.